People have been telling wild tales about mythical creatures for thousands of years. It started with early stories about dragons and giants, and today, we still delight in movies like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Truth be told, the world is filled with plenty of real animals that are simply mind-boggling. We don't need to make up stories about legendary creatures. There are real ones wandering the earth right now. Although these animals were once dismissed as mythical, scientists now understand that they don't just exist in the minds of storytellers. Some mythical creatures once roamed the earth before going extinct, while others still survive to this day. Either way, these incredible creatures prove that sometimes, humanity's most magical tales can be much more real than anyone realizes. If nothing else, this should remind us that our world still has plenty of secrets left to uncover. But what are these mythical creatures? Are they really as magical as people believe? How did we discover them? Let's find out.
There's 51 million people entering another
surveillance camera capturing the
unidentified flying object.
lockdowns and mass testing.
Today, that the world is going to end.
People have been telling stories about sea monsters since the very first humans took to the oceans, and it makes sense why early sailors told so many stories about mysterious creatures lurking under the depths. After all, many real sea creatures are extremely weird, and to make matters even more unsettling for these ancient navigators, many real marine animals are more than capable of killing humans. But there is one sea creature that probably struck more fear into the hearts of sailors than any other: the Kraken. In whispering tones, sailors described this creature as a giant squid or octopus, one that was large enough to drag entire ships down to the ocean floor. In 1830, Lord Tennyson wrote a poem about this deeply feared beast. Below the thunders of the upper deep, far, far beneath the abysmal sea, his ancient, dreamless, uninvaded sleep, the Kraken sleepeth. Faintest sunlights flee about his shadowy sides. Above him swell huge sponges of millennial growth and height, and far away into the sickly light, from many a wondrous groot and secret cell, unnumbered and enormous polypi, winnow with giant arms the slumbering green. There hath he lain for ages and will lie, battening upon huge sea worms in his sleep, until the latter fire shall heat the deep, then once by man and angels to be seen, in roaring he shall rise, and on the surface die. The Kraken is most commonly associated with ancient Nordic myths, but very similar creatures were described by the Greeks, the Romans, and many other ancient cultures. In 1782, the Kraken was blamed for sinking 10 warships under British control, although a storm was probably the real culprit. Eventually, it became clear that there really was something in the sea that resembled the Kraken, a giant squid. Today, we know that giant squids are real. However, they remain one of the most elusive, rare, and mysterious creatures on the planet. To this day, scientists still haven't been able to study them in detail. This is because they typically reside at very low depths, further than most submarines are capable of operating. In fact, some of the best evidence we have of their existence comes from their ancient rivals, the sperm whale. You see, sperm whales regularly duel with giant squids in epic battles that occur at depths of more than 6,500 feet. Although these giant squid are often eaten by sperm whales, they are capable of putting up quite a fight. In fact, many sperm whales bear long, characteristic scars that were caused by the tentacles of giant squid. Humans first started to find evidence of giant squid when they were hunting sperm whales. These whales often regurgitated dismembered tentacles upon death, and that's when early scientists started to realize that the mythical Kraken might be real after all. The oldest certified record of a giant squid was way back in 1639, when the body of a Kraken washed up on the shores of Iceland. In 1861, the crew of the French vessel, Electon, managed to harpoon a squid that was approximately 7.5 meters in length. By this point, it became clear that many of the stories about the Kraken were greatly exaggerated. Although massive, real giant squid are much smaller than the legends would suggest. Some of the biggest giant squid are thought to be about 20 meters in length, but some of the more creative legends state that Krakens can grow to the size of a small island or mountain. The giant squid was only photographed for the first time in 2004. Prior to this, it was so mysterious that we hardly knew anything about it. It can dive to depths of up to 10,000 feet, and it is thought to have a complex brain. Scientists are trying to study these creatures in more detail, but they are incredibly difficult to find. What's clear, however, is that the mythical Kraken was real after all. Dire wolves play an important role in Native American mythology, and they have been popularized in recent times with shows like Game of Thrones. Giant wolves such as Fenrir were mentioned heavily in Norse mythology, and Tolkien wrote about them in his many tales of Middle-earth. Although these mythical tales are captivating, it's important to remember that dire wolves are real, or at least they were. Although extinct today, the dire wolf was one of the most dangerous and interesting predators of its time. It roamed across America during the late Pleistocene and early Holocene, among other iconic Ice Age predators like the saber-toothed cat. Even the smallest dire wolves were as big as the largest ever gray wolves today. They were also heavier, stockier, and much more powerful. Their bite force was stronger than any known canine in history. And although they seem similar to modern-day canids, new research suggests that dire wolves have completely different DNA. This has led scientists to believe that these mysterious creatures actually belong to a different genetic lineage than their wolf-like cousins, and that they shouldn't even be called wolves at all. Some even say that dire wolves looked more like giant coyotes than giant wolves, complete with red fur, rounded ears, and even a bushy tail. In addition, it seems as though dire wolves were completely incapable of breeding with gray wolves, suggesting that they were very different creatures. Some of the most ridiculous myths involve animals that couldn't possibly exist, like the shape-shifting otter, a horned rabbit, and vampire deer. But wait a second. What if we told you that vampire deer were real after all? That's right. There's an entire subspecies of deer that has vampire-like fangs, known as Musk Deer. These creatures are found throughout Siberia and Northeast Asia, but despite the fact that they have fanged teeth, they do not feed on blood, or any other animal for that matter. These deer are completely herbivorous, and their favorite food is actually lichen. So why do the musk deer even have fangs in the first place? Well, first of all, only the male grows fangs, which scientists actually refer to as tusks. While other types of deer grow antlers to attract females, musk deer grow long fangs instead. In some cases, males may even fight each other using their tusks in order to compete for females. Those with longer, stronger fangs are more likely to attract a mate. Unfortunately, musk deer are endangered, having been hunted to the brink of extinction by humans. Soon, they'll become relegated to the pages of tomorrow's myths. Ancient myths are filled with tales of giant eagles, and these legendary creatures played a role in Tolkien's stories. The Morai also knew of these creatures. According to their legends, these giant eagles were capable of swooping down and taking away small children, Some accounts even state that these Hakawai killed adults as well. So were giant eagles real? The biggest eagle that ever existed was the Haast eagle. This colossal beast weighed about 35 pounds and was about twice as big as the largest known eagle today, the Harpy eagle. The Haast's eagle is thought to have evolved as early as 700,000 years ago from relatively small ancestors, which means it increased in size extremely quickly on an evolutionary scale. Its wingspan was up to 8 feet 6 inches, and although this might sound massive, it's actually quite small considering the size of its body. Its short wings may have boosted maneuverability in forests and shrublands as it hunted the 12-foot-tall, 500-pound moa. The flightless moa were capable of running through the forests of New Zealand at speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour. Before humans arrived in New Zealand, the only thing that could kill a moa was the Haast's eagle. It probably swooped down on its prey at high velocities, driving its talons straight into the moa's spine and killing it instantly. Of course, once the Maori arrived in New Zealand, the moa were hunted to extinction, and with no moa to feed on, the Haast's eagle also went extinct. Although they're now gone, humans really did live side by side with giant eagles for a brief time. The Maori even depicted these giant eagles in their cave paintings, and the painting suggests that the Haast's eagle may have had a bald head. Perhaps we ought to be a little more careful when we dismiss various cryptids as pseudoscience. After all, new species are constantly being discovered and certain legends may be more credible than we think. In reality, all mythical creatures are probably based on at least some degree of truth, whether it's the giant squid, the dire wolf, or the Haast's eagle. All of these creatures have existed alongside humans, and although they may have inspired mythical tales, they're not entirely fictional. Sometimes it's important to step back once in a while and realize how incredible our world really is. Because our seas really are filled with wondrous sea creatures like whales and giant squid. Our skies are home to glorious winged beasts like eagles and hawks. And deep within our forest, there are mysterious, enchanting predators like wolves and mountain lions. If you open your eyes just a little, you'll see that our planet is a truly magical place, and it's filled with all kinds of legendary beasts.